Today we explore the unusual customs, strange rites, and peculiar beliefs that ancient warriors practiced before going into battle. From the fierce Celtic tribes who drank the blood of their enemies to the honorable samurai of Japan who performed seppuku before their final stand. These warriors had unique ways of preparing themselves for the horrors of war. Join us as we uncover the secrets of these extraordinary traditions and learn about the fascinating world of ancient warfare. But before we begin, be sure to hit that like button for more amazing content. Also stick around until the end to learn about one of the most terrifying warriors in history, the Mongols. Celtic warriors, headhunting and drinking enemy blood before battle. The Celts were known for their fierce warrior culture, and some of their customs were truly bizarre. One of the most disturbing was their practice of headhunting, which involved cutting off the heads of slain enemies and preserving them as trophies. The Celts believed that by drinking the blood of their enemies, they could gain some of their strength and courage. They would often boil the heads in vinegar or soak them in wine, then drink the resulting concoction before battle. This disgusting ritual was meant to invoke the spirits of the slain warriors and use their power to aid them in battle. It was also a way of showing dominance and asserting their superiority over their defeated foes. Zulu warriors, ritual dances, and singing war chants to intimidate enemies. The Zulu warriors had a unique custom of performing ritual dances and singing war chants before battle. These dances were not only a way to intimidate their enemies, but also a means of unifying the troops and getting them ready to fight. The Zulus believed that their ancestors were with them in spirit during battle, and the dances were a way to communicate with them. They would stomp their feet, shake their spears, and chant loudly to invoke the spirits and ask for their protection. This practice was especially common during the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879, when the Zulus faced off against the British Empire. The Zulus' war cries and dances played a significant role in their victories at the Battle of Isandlwana, where they defeated a much larger British force. Samurai Japan, seppuku, as a demonstration of honor before defeat. The samurai of Japan had a strict code of conduct, and one of their most notable customs was the practice of seppuku, also known as harikiri. This was a form of ritual suicide that was practiced by samurai when they were facing imminent defeat or dishonor. Seppuku involved disembowelment with a dagger, and it was seen as a way to maintain one's honor and dignity in the face of adversity. A samurai who performed seppuku was considered to have died with honor, and their act was often admired by their enemies. The practice of seppuku was an important part of the samurai culture, and it continued for many centuries. Vikings, berserkers entering trance-like fury with ritual chanting. The Vikings were known for their fierce warriors, the berserkers, who were said to enter a trance-like fury when they went into battle. To achieve this state of mind, they would perform strange rituals such as chanting and making animal noises. The berserkers believed that by doing so, they could tap into the powers of the animals and become stronger, fiercer fighters. They would often go into battle wearing animal skins and carrying animal symbols, such as the head of a bear or a wolf. The Vikings believed that by doing this, they could invoke the spirits of the animals and use their strength and ferocity in battle. These practices were a big part of Viking culture, and they helped to make the Vikings even more feared and respected by their enemies. Scythian horse archers, tattooed rituals invoking animal spirits. The Scythians were a nomadic people who lived in the steppes of Central Asia from the 7th century BC to the 3rd century AD. They were known for their skill in horsemanship and their ability to ride and fight from horseback. The Scythians also had a unique culture, and their warriors were known for their distinctive tattoos, which were believed to have been used in religious rituals to invoke the spirits of animals. The tattoos were typically of horses, birds, and other animals that were important to the Scythians. They believed that by getting these tattoos, they could gain the strength and speed of the animals they depicted. This practice was not only a form of religious devotion, but also a way to show their status and rank within the community. The Scythian tattoos are some of the earliest examples of body modification in history, and they provide a fascinating glimpse into the beliefs and practices of this unique culture. Mongol warriors, horse sacrifices to appease war gods before invasions. The Mongols were a nomadic tribe from Central Asia who grew up to become one of the largest empires in history under the leadership of Genghis Khan. They were known for their skill in horsemanship and their ability to ride and fight from horseback. Mongols believed that their war gods needed to be appeased before any major invasion or battle, and one of their strangest rituals was the sacrifice of horses. Horses were the Mongols' primary mode of transportation and warfare, so sacrificing them was a big deal. The Mongols believed that by sacrificing horses, they could gain the favor of their gods and ensure victory in battle. They would often sacrifice several horses before a major engagement, cutting their throats and letting their blood spill out onto the ground. This blood was then used to paint the faces and bodies of the Mongol warriors, which was believed to give them strength and courage in battle. Maori warriors, New Zealand haka war dance to display strength and scare opponents. The Maori people of New Zealand have a long tradition of warfare, and their warriors were known for their fierce fighting skills. Before going into battle, the Maori would perform a ritual called haka, which was a type of war dance that involved a lot of posturing, yelling, and rhythmic movements. The haka was not only a way to intimidate their opponents, but also a way to unify the troops and get them ready to fight. The dance involved a lot of slapping, chest beating, and finger snapping, and it was meant to display the strength and power of the Maori warriors. The haka is still performed today as a way to honor the Maori culture and heritage. Dahomey Amazons, West Africa, ritualized weapons, blessing ceremonies. The Dahomey Amazons were a group of female warriors from the Dahomey Kingdom in West Africa, who were said to be fierce fighters and skilled in the art of war. Before going into battle, the Amazons would perform a ritualized ceremony to bless their weapons and protect them from harm. The ceremony involved a lot of dancing, chanting, and the use of special oils and charms. The weapons were often decorated with special carvings and symbols that were meant to give them magical powers. The Amazons believed that by performing this ceremony, they were honoring their ancestors and gaining their support in battle. They also believed that the ceremony made them invisible to their enemies, which gave them a huge advantage in battle. Thracian gladiators, ritual bloodletting, and offering to gods of war. The Thracians were an ancient people who lived in the Balkans and were known for their fierce warriors. Some Thracians were employed as gladiators in the Roman Empire, and they had their own unique set of customs and traditions. Before a fight, they would perform a ritual of bloodletting, which involved cutting open the veins of the fighters and letting their blood flow out. The blood was then used to make offerings to the gods of war, such as Ares in Greek religion or Mars in Roman religion. The Thracians believed that by doing this, they were honoring their gods and asking for their protection and favor in the fight. They also believed that the bloodletting made them more agile and stronger in battle, and it was a way to show their dominance over their opponents. Aztec Eagle Warriors, human sacrifice to honor gods and gain courage. The Aztecs were an ancient civilization that lived in what is now Mexico. They were known for their advanced society and their unique culture, but they also had some very strange and disturbing customs. One of the most shocking was their practice of human sacrifice. The Aztecs believed that in order to keep the world in balance, they needed to make sacrifices to their gods, and the most common type of sacrifice was human blood. Before going into battle, Aztec warriors would often engage in human sacrifice, usually by cutting open the chest of a captured enemy and taking out their heart. They believed that by doing this, they were honoring their gods and gaining their favor in battle. The blood of the sacrifice was often used to paint the faces of the Aztec warriors, which was believed to give them strength and courage. Persian Immortals, strict pre-battle ceremonies to synchronize attacks. The Persian Immortals were an elite military force that was part of the Persian army. They were known for their discipline, training, and their ability to launch synchronized attacks that were devastating to their enemies. In order to maintain their effectiveness as a fighting force, the Immortals had to follow a strict set of rules and regulations, both in their daily lives and before battle. Before going into battle, the Immortals would perform a series of pre-battle ceremonies that were designed to synchronize their actions and ensure that they were all ready to fight. These ceremonies involved a lot of chanting, dancing, and the use of special weapons and armor. The goal was to create a sense of unity and brotherhood among the soldiers and to put them in the right mindset to fight. Spartans, bloodied ritual dances, and physical tests of courage. The Spartans were an ancient Greek civilization that was located in the Peloponnese. They were known for their fierce warriors who were trained from a young age to be strong, disciplined, and courageous. Spartan warriors had their own unique customs and traditions, including some strange and unusual ones. Before going into battle, the Spartans would perform ritual dances that involved a lot of jumping, spinning, and swordplay. These dances were not only a way to intimidate their enemies, but also a way to test the courage and skill of the Spartan warriors. The Spartans believed that by performing these dances, they were invoking the favor of their gods and gaining their support in battle. Native American Plains tribes, war paint, and fasting rituals before battle. The Native American Plains tribes were known for their fierce warriors who fought on horseback and were skilled in the use of the bow and arrow. Before going into battle, these warriors would often paint their faces and bodies with special war paint that was made from natural materials such as clay, charcoal, and animal fat. The paint was not only used to intimidate their enemies, but also as a way to identify with their tribe and show their bravery. The Plains tribes also had a tradition of fasting before battle. They believed that by doing so, they were purifying themselves and getting ready to fight. Fasting was often done for several days before a battle, and it involved abstaining from food and sometimes water as well. The Plains tribes believed that fasting made them closer to the Great Spirit and gave them the strength and courage to win the battle. Japanese ninja clans, meditation, and ritual purification to summon courage. The Japanese ninja clans were groups of spies, assassins, and mercenaries who operated in feudal Japan. They were known for their stealth and cunning, but they also had their own unique set of customs and traditions. Before going into a mission, the ninja would often meditate for hours to calm their minds and focus their thoughts. They believed that by doing so, they were summoning the courage and strength they needed to complete their mission successfully. The ninja also had a tradition of ritual purification before a mission. This involved washing their bodies with special herbs and salts that were believed to have magical properties. The ninja believed that this ritual made them invisible to their enemies and gave them the ability to move freely and undetected. Maori warlords' tattoos representing warrior lineage and spiritual protection. Maori warlords were the leaders of the Maori tribes in New Zealand during the 18th and 19th centuries. They were known for their fierce fighting skills and their unique culture and traditions. The Maori had a tradition of tattooing their bodies with special designs that represented their warrior lineage and spiritual beliefs. The tattoos were not only a way to show their rank and status, but also a form of protection and good luck in battle. The Maori believed that the tattoos gave them strength and courage and that they could help them win battles and protect their tribe. Assyrian armies, ritualistic parades, and chants to instill fear in enemies. The Assyrians were an ancient Mesopotamian civilization that was located in northern Iraq. They were known for their powerful army and their ability to conquer large areas of land. The Assyrians believed that their gods had given them the power to rule over other civilizations, and they used this belief to intimidate their enemies before battle. The Assyrian armies would often hold ritualistic parades before engaging in battle. During these parades, the soldiers would march in formation and chant and drum loudly to instill fear in the hearts of their enemies. The Assyrians also used propaganda to spread fear and demoralize their opponents. They would often send messages to the leaders of the cities they were about to attack, threatening them with terrible punishments if they resisted. Roman gladiators, pre-battle prayers to Mars and sacrifices of animals. The Roman Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in history, and its armies were known for their strength and efficiency. The Roman gladiators were some of the most feared warriors of the time, and they had their own unique customs and traditions before going into the arena to fight. Before a fight, the gladiators would often pray to Mars, the Roman god of war, for strength and courage. They would also make sacrifices to Mars by throwing coins or other valuable items into his temple. The gladiators believed that by doing these things, they were honoring their god and gaining his favor in the fight. Celts of Gaul, wearing animal pelts and masks in battle for psychological warfare. The Celts of Gaul were known for their fierce warriors who fought with swords, spears, and shields. They were also known for their unique customs and traditions, including some that involved strange and unusual practices. One of the most peculiar was their use of animal pelts and masks in battle. The Celts believed that by wearing the skin of an animal, they could take on the characteristics of that animal and gain its strength and ferocity. They would often wear the heads and tails of animals such as bears, wolves, and boars, and they would use these to intimidate their enemies and scare them away. Huns bloodletting and ritual horse mounts to summon war spirits. The Huns were a nomadic people who lived in Central Asia during the 4th to 6th centuries. They were known for their fierce warriors who were skilled in the art of horsemanship and warfare. The Huns had their own unique set of customs and traditions, including some that involved strange and unusual practices. One of the most notable was their practice of bloodletting before battle. The Huns believed that by cutting open their veins and letting their blood flow out, they could summon the spirits of war and gain their favor in battle. They would often mount their horses in a ritualistic way before going into battle, and they believed that this ritual made them invisible to their enemies. Picts of Scotland, body paint, and tattoos used in ritualistic intimidation. The Picts were an ancient people who lived in what is now Scotland from the 2nd century to the 10th century. They were known for their fierce warriors and their unique culture and traditions. The Picts had a tradition of using body paint and tattoos to intimidate their enemies before battle. The Picts believed that by painting their bodies with strange designs and symbols, they could scare away their opponents and avoid bloodshed. They would often paint their faces with woad, a blue dye made from the leaves of a plant, and they would cover their bodies with tattoos that depicted their clan and their spiritual beliefs. That's all for today. Which of these ancient warriors do you find the most fascinating? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.